driving cross countries, getting ball tires, fam across ponds, always inspired. Chapters connect, and then it's on fire. Checking phones as BV is like a live wire. They said that we couldn't do it, and that never underestimate the power of brotherhood. Every bro, every chapter, every caption. Heart of a villain, bro. Lights, camera, action, 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 action. Let's go.
And hello, everybody. Hello. Hey, it is 5. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can count to 5 years. 5 years. Tonight. Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Heart of a Villain, a podcast and live stream devoted to the bearded villains worldwide brotherhood. And guys, today, August 16th, 2024 marks 5 years since the first broadcast episode of The Heart of a Villain. That's right, 5 years ago today with episode 1. Wow, time has just flown by. I spent some time in being retrospective or contemplative or whatever you want to call it over the last week or so on just looking back on what this show has done, who I've been able to talk to. And I mean, just looking back on seeing I'm just amazed. I really am amazed. And it's not because I'm not amazed because I think that this show has done anything crazy, noteworthy or anything like that. I'm just amazed for a few different reasons, really. Many of you guys have heard the story where I reached out to a captain that I knew during my first few months as a villain. As a matter of fact, I don't even think that I was I don't even know if I was a patched villain the first time I brought the conversation up. And many of you know that 2017 was actually the year I found bearded villains. And because there was a delay and a period of time when no patching was occurring, I was unable to get my patch until the very beginning of 2018. So I became an 18 villain. But I've been a part of this thing here since 17. And man, I look back on everything that I've been able to see, all the people I've been able to talk to. And, I think I've mentioned before that this, some of the statistics they're against anybody that wants to start a podcast. And as you know, when I first started this thing out, it was not a weekly show. When we first started out, for the first 10 or 12 episodes at least, it was every other week and because I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do with it and how often I wanted to talk to people and how receptive guys would be. Because as far as I knew, all I had been told way back when I first came up with this idea to do this was that, one or two people that this captain that I knew, said, I think, people had tried to start an episode or tried a podcast and it didn't really, it fizzled out after a couple of episodes or never really gained any ground or the guys gave up on it or whatever it was. And it's funny that totally tracks. That totally tracks the statistics that are out there. And I just want to read you guys this. I've told you guys some statistics on this show before about podcasts in general. But 90%, and this goes back, if you count right now how many active podcasts there are, when you say active, the question is what's active? But actually technical podcasts out there. So whether they're active or not, whether they're actively uploading anymore or not, there are over 4 million podcasts out there right now. Now, of those, they figure on, statistically speaking, all these places that do statistics of podcasts, they figure on 90%. 90% of all podcasts don't get past episode 3. They just give up. I guess they decide it's not for them or whatever reason. But 90% of all podcasts stop after episode 3. And you look at the other numbers of it and you're thinking of, there's some statistic out there at one of the companies that compiles information says that 1,800,000 basically quit before they started. that means that they uploaded like one thing and they just didn't do anything further. There's almost 2 million podcasts out there right now that haven't uploaded more than like one thing, and they're just dormant, but they're still out there. So then it's said that of the 200,000 or so that get past that point, right? 90% of those quit after 20 episodes. After 20 episodes. And here we are, episode 225, 5 years later. I mean, it's I've told you guys about this before, that it's a passion of mine. It's something that I just love to do. I love being able to get in front of this microphone and just talk to guys. Like I said, I do it for myself. I just do it to hear myself talk about other chapters and what other guys are doing. And the off chance that somebody would listen to it later after the fact to learn about what our chapters out there are doing. But, and I've talked about it before. The reason that I started this show was because I was tired of Instagram. I was tired of Facebook. I was tired of all these, the line chat stuff, not being able to get information to others. I didn't like the fact that there was no one place that you could go to where you're not fighting the algorithm that tells you, oh, well, you don't chat with this chapter very often, or you don't check this chapter stuff very often. So we're going to keep it hidden from you until you search it out. And I hated that. I hate the fact that they can't just keep an algorithm free of things and just leave. If we are following a chapter, if we are following brothers, just let it stay in there and just let us scroll through it and find it. But no, they're too busy trying to sell us junk and everything else. So I realized that, I wanted a place that I could learn about other chapters and share the information about what other chapters are doing, because so often all we ever hear about are the chapters that are local to us, the regional chapters, or maybe some of the larger outspoken chapters here, like in the States for us, or over in, say, in Europe and in England, the ones that are the larger chapters, that you hear from occasionally. But how often do you hear from the smaller chapters? How often do you hear of the charity stuff that they're doing? And just because they're small doesn't mean that their reach is small, right? We talked about that before. Even the smallest chapters with the fewest number of guys in the single digits, there's chapters out there that fit that criteria that have made amazing progress and have done some really cool stuff in their communities. Why wouldn't we want to celebrate that? But we don't hear about it. And so that's why 5 years ago to today's date, I decided to start this thing up. And the very first episode, I don't encourage you to go back and listen to it. I do not encourage you to go back and listen to it because it was terrible. But hey, it shows the growth, right? It shows the growth of the show. But the first episode was reviewing the LA World Meet in 2019. And it was definitely interesting. And it took me a couple of weeks after I got back home to edit what I thought I needed to edit. And this was before I realized that it's so much more fun to just go, to just hit record and just go, and not worry about your ums and ahs and your all of the things that you might say and breathing weird. And if you have a cough in there, or if you have a sneeze in there, I try to mute myself when I do that. But I want this to be natural. I want it to be a conversation between brothers. I want people to hear about Bearded Villains for the first time, maybe, and realize how cool this brotherhood can be, and maybe find out that there's a chapter somewhere near them. And if somehow someone's able to listen to this show and get that information, then man, that's exciting. That is so exciting to me. So I'm very excited to be here tonight and to celebrate tonight. Of course, we've done a little bit of logo revamping, some 5-year kind of leaning hard on the big V for the 5 and moving forward, and we revamped the secondary logo. Eventually, I'd like to revamp the primary logo for this year. We're looking at having some new merch coming out in the store available for people to purchase. Just a bunch of other really cool things that are coming down the road here that I'm working toward to see what we can do. And I'm looking forward to bringing in extra other brothers to help co-host occasionally with this show. Looking forward to finding out new ways that I can share information about what all of our brothers out there are doing. And it's gotten harder actually over the last 5 years. Believe it or not, you would think it's easier. And I get set in my ways, and I learn my little methods that I can get the information from. I find my way through things, but I'm looking forward to finding a path where it's just I have a repository where people can just dump information into, and then I can research it, and then I can reach back out to them, and then we can do stories, short stories, and even kind of like 60 minutes. Even we can do that on a weekly basis. That's in addition to the podcast. I've got all sorts of really cool ideas that I want to do, where once a month I might do a feature on a brother or a chapter, and just really focus in on what they're doing in their community, and just kind of hone in on things. And it's a really cool opportunity for us. And the outreach of this show, it's out there. It's just whether or not guys want to find it and listen to it. By no means is this a huge podcast in the podcast space. It is one of the longer running podcasts now at this point, but as far as viewership goes on the YouTube, and as far as listenership on regular podcast platforms, no, it is not a top 10 podcast, but it was never meant to be. It never needed to be. All this needed to be was two things: an opportunity for me to learn from the brothers that are out there. And that was number one for me. This was an opportunity for me to get in front of a microphone and play with some technology and have some fun with some buttons, and give me an opportunity to learn about all the brothers. This is a worldwide brotherhood. If you are only hearing about or learning from the brothers within a 2-hour radius of where you live, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. And so that's what I've always wanted to do. I wanted to do this for me so that I could learn, but I also wanted to spread the news of everything else out there, and for guys to realize how cool these other brothers are out there that you may not have heard from before. And maybe then they can reach out. They start conversations. They hear about what somebody's doing, and then they reach out to them on Instagram, a brother that they probably may not have ever reached out to before. Yeah, we like each other and we follow each other all the time, but how often do you have those conversations with brothers that are out of your area? How often do you really do that? Now, I know that we meet brothers from time to time at different events. We meet somebody from 4 or 5 states away here in the States, and then we develop that relationship and that brotherhood and that tight-knit connection, and that's all fine and well. But then sometimes we get set in our ways, and we still want to keep our group close, right? Our group of friends, our group of brothers that still, we feel like, oh, I'm good with about 10. And then you look at the numbers and how many brothers are out there. And I just want to encourage everybody to take time to get out of your comfort zone, take the time to go out and meet, learn about all these other awesome brothers that are out there, because there's so many cool stories out there. There's stories of sacrifice, there's stories of triumph, there's stories of brothers overcoming crazy odds to do some cool stuff out there. There's brothers out there doing some huge impacts in the community. There's brothers out there sacrificing for family, for friends, for community. There's so many cool stories out there. And so that's really what I'm excited about, is to continue this well past this episode 225. I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel at all. It is a pitch black tunnel right now. There's no light. And I'm looking forward to just jumping straight back into it and keeping on. So cheers to everybody who has been here since the beginning, and cheers to all of you who have jumped in along the way and taken a part in this journey with me. It has been an awesome ride, and I just can't wait to continue it with you all as we move forward. Incidentally, I broke out a couple of my better bottles of whiskey, bourbon, scotch, whatever you want to call it, tonight. So I'm starting off the show with a little 2017 bottle of E.H. Taylor, Mr. E.H. Taylor. So cheers. I love that. I don't open that bottle often. I don't open that bottle often, but it figures that it was perfect for me to do that tonight because it coincides with the time of my start with Bearded Villains. Well, I want to say hello, and as I always do, I want to say hello to all the brothers that are out there and just hanging out with us tonight here live. I'm looking forward to continuing to learn from them and their journey as we move forward. And let me see if I can find my little mouse here so I can scroll up. And I'm going to share some of our brothers here that are here with us live. Buddy is hanging out with us here. He says, "Good evening, fellas. How are we doing, Buddy? Good to see you here." Mr. Rob Fetters. Man, Rob, it was so good to hang out with you. Yeah, so good. A little sweaty, little sweaty, but good times. Good times for sure. A traditional good afternoon, but it's good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a happy 5-year anniversary from Rabababa, who was right over there on the couch just a couple weeks ago. He just recently got back home. He stayed. He had an extended stay over here in the States, and he didn't end it on a great note, sounds like, health-wise. So get well. Get well. We need you well for your next trip over here for sure. So you can come back and enjoy yourself once again, sooner than later. Dave, Mr. Dave Stewart says, "Hello from Alberta, brothers." Hello. Good evening, good sir. Good to see you here. And Jason is also hanging out with us as well. Peace. What's up, buddy? Good to see you here. I know we have a bunch of people that are actually watching right now that are not, in some capacity, that are not chiming in with the comment section, but that is totally understandable. That is fine by me. That is fine by me. David said, we were talking about just a few minutes ago, talking about small chapters, and we were talking about the things that some of our chapters are doing. Dave, perfect example. One of our guys is riding 100 kilometers for Kids for Cancer this month. Yes. And, I think, Dave, that one of the coolest things that I've learned, it's not when I say learned, it's not that I just learned this, right? But one of the coolest things that I think I've been able to help express and help share through this is that, when I first came into BV, you heard a lot of times about this chapter was doing this charity event, or this chapter is helping out with this walk or doing this, but really you didn't hear a whole lot about individual brothers doing something. And I think that it's been a really cool trend over the last at least 7 years since I've been a part of this thing, and 6 years, 5 years moving forward, especially the last 5 years, where I love to hear the stories, the individual stories of brothers who recognize that, you know what, I can still represent myself, I can still represent BV, and I can still represent my chapter by doing just one little cool thing. And not everybody needs to be a part of it, and it doesn't need to be an official chapter thing for you to do it either. You don't have to represent your chapter, but what's really cool to me is that this is the character. This is the quality of men that we have, right? These are the men that you want to talk to your kids about. These are the men that you want to use it as an example. The ones that will step out of their comfort zone, that will do something else, that will step out and do what they can, even in an individual capacity, to help somebody else. There was a celebrity that once said that, in times of stress and in times of emergency, always look for the heroes, but look to see who's running toward the noise. Look to see who's running toward it. And, I think that's very poetic and it's very descriptive of what so many of our guys do. You don't always have to set a world record in something. You don't always have to raise millions of dollars for something. Just touching one person's life makes such a difference. And sometimes it's more tangible. Touching one person or a couple of people's lives in a very real way can make a bigger impact on you and your community than you think. So keep that stuff up. Keep those stories coming. When you hear about brothers that are doing some really cool stuff, even if it's on their own, even if, they don't even have to be officially representing Bearded Villains. or their Bearded Villain chapter. They don't. And if need be, I won't even mention that. I'll just mention the fact that, hey, one of our brothers is doing something awesome right now. And that to me is just as important. It's just as important because, again, it talks to the spirit and the character of our men, of the brothers, of the ones that are part of this brotherhood. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. Yeah, Rob. Rob says, people need to make the effort to reach out and see what's happening outside their own gardens. Yes. Don't hesitate to do that. Get out of your home sack, right? Get out of your way. Get out of your way. Rob, having a Sazerac in honor to our failed attempt to the Sazerac house. Yes, Rob, that was very disappointing. Very disappointing. And I actually just finished up a bottle of Saz Rye a couple days ago. So I didn't have enough to I wasn't thinking that I could actually smartly save some for tonight. So, but that's not nearly as a fanciful bottle as the ones that I've got on here. So crowdfunding to get me back. Yes, let's work on that, Rob. Let's definitely work on that, man. Dave says he got my 7-year-old and me doing it. See, this is what it's about. This is what it's about. I wish I would have kept a book or a notebook of something that, and I do have, I have a history of the show, obviously, because I have all the recordings of all the shows and everything else. That's the history of the last 5 years. So I could go back and listen and splice and do all that other stuff. But it seems I have so many memories of stories of brothers who listened to some part of some episode of some random show that they just happened to find the show that week. They weren't a regular listener. They just happened to find it, and they heard something that inspired them. They heard something that a chapter's doing, that a brother is doing, or they just got inspired in some way, shape, or form, and it led them to do something for themselves locally, for their chapter or for a charity locally. And I know of at least 20 occasions in the last 5 years where that has happened. We have such an impact on our brothers, you don't even know. Well, you have an opportunity anyway to have an incredible impact on the men around us just simply by examples. And then you take it a step further, and man, you can really go nuts thinking about the examples that you're setting for your children. Not just as a dad, but being around other men. Being around other men. This is everything that my chapter does is family friendly, and I love the fact that when we do have kids there, teenagers there, they see what it's like when men can get together in a positive way. So let's absolutely let's keep that going. Let's keep that going for sure. All right, guys. So I appreciate you again for being here. I've gone through the statistics and everything, but real quick, I want to take a second out and since the last episode 2 weeks ago, in the time between now and then, I did come across something that one chapter did put out publicly, and I want to give a shout out to them for doing so, because they did a really cool thing recently to help out with a charity effort locally, and so I want to make sure that I read some information on that one too. So let's get into do a short little Villains Around the World segment for one chapter. All right, so man, let's get it. Shout out to BV London. BV London. I got to read this to you here. Over the weekend, I think it was last weekend or the week. I'm not sure which weekend it was in the last couple weeks, but Bearded Villains London presented the UK Homes for Heroes, which is a military charity helping servicemen and women, with a check for £6,000. £6,000. This has been a charity Bearded Villains London has been supporting this year and raising money for. I'm going to say special thanks to Jimmy and Michelle for coming down and letting them do the presentation. A top effort by the chapter and what they do. That is such a cool thing. Congratulations, BV London. on an awesome, awesome thing. Great charity effort. And man, look at the smiles, man. Look at the smiles. I love it. I love it. This is what it's about, finding a way to make a difference in your community. So, mad congratulations to BV London. And that is the one thing that we do have on our Villains Around the World segment for this week. But we got other stuff, man. We got other stuff we can talk about, right? When I got to take another sip. Got to take another sip. You almost, when you have a good quality bourbon that you don't drink very often, you forget. You forget how good it is. And you wish that if you had endless supplies of money that you could just keep that bottle on hand all the time. Yeah, that's the case. So I want to give a shout out to well, not specifically to individual people, but I want to say thank you to a few of you who did respond to a question that I asked. A question that I asked on the Instagram in the last 24 hours, asking you, what do you want to see? And now, anybody that's in the comment section here live, you can also take part in this live and answer a question for me. What do you want to see me do with the show in the next year and the next moving forward from here on out? And I've asked this before, and I usually don't get too many answers. Most people just say, keep doing what you're doing, or they come out with some outlandish comment or something like that. But when I ask something like this, I'm really genuinely hoping for some ideas, because I know that, number one, as I always say, this podcast is as much yours as it is mine, because it's about our brotherhood. And I also know that I don't have all of the best ideas in the world. Some of the ideas that I do have aren't the best ideas, for sure. And I acknowledge that. I recognize that right away. So I want to be available to other and open to other ideas and ways that I can continue to get the word out, to talk to brothers, to do whatever. So I'm open to ideas. If you've got some cool ideas that you think maybe we can impart or you can incorporate into the show, by all means, let me know. If you want to see some specific content, let me know. So I made this comment. I reached out and I asked the people, and I had a few, just basically 4 responses that came on through Instagram. And I just want to say, I got your responses and I appreciate it. I just want to share them. I'm not going to say who they were, but I just want to read the comments because I like the responses. So one person said, what do you want to see? Well, I'd like to be a guest. And also the great conversations with BP. I appreciate that, man. And my goal has always been, I want this to seem like, at least when I'm doing the interviews and I'm talking to brothers, I want it to feel like this is just me sitting next to you and we're just talking. And it's not fancy. We're just talking about stuff. We're giving opinions, we're sharing stories, and we're just having a good time. And, we can disagree about things from time to time. We can totally disagree. I look forward to that sometimes. I do, because I love to hear other people's viewpoints. And even if somebody is going to shout at the top of his voice the stuff that I don't think I can possibly understand or believe, while I'm trying to shout at the top of my voice the same thing that there's no way in the world they're going to possibly understand or believe, I'm going to at least hear a differing opinion, right? And it gives me a chance to learn. It gives me a chance to learn about a brother. It gives me a chance to learn about a different thought process and a different mindset. Doesn't mean that it's going to change mine, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to change yours. But when did we go to a populace where we stop learning and we stop being open to ideas? Just because you're open to an idea, and it's so perfect for the timing of this, because I've never get into politics here really on this show, and I'm not going to start now, but we are running here in the States. We are in a political cycle right now, for sure. And everything is right and left. If you're on the right, you hate the left. If you're on the left, you hate the right. And you think the other side is the worst possible people in the world. And I've said it from this, as long as I've been allowed to vote, that it always seemed to me like that 80%, there's an 80% rule. And most Americans are like crammed into this 80% of the people are kind of crammed right in the middle, and they lean a little bit left and a little bit right. And all we ever hear from is the far left and far right that make things so outlandish. and blow things so far out of proportion that it's hard to kind of understand and yet let people in the middle have a voice, because the people on the outside are the ones that are represented by your left and your right. And so it's a perfect thing. It's perfect when you think about that. Now, we have become a society that doesn't want to talk and is not open to new ideas and is not open to listen and learn from other people. And like I say, just because I'm listening to you doesn't mean I completely accept your opinion. It doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with you. But I can damn sure well listen to you without cutting you off and without calling you hateful speech. I can damn well listen to you and respect the fact that you have an opinion and are willing to share it. And I would hope that, in fact, you're the same, that you can turn around and be the same. That's how respect is earned and conversations start. And those tough conversations start. So yes, that's what I love to do. And some of the best shows that have come out of this podcast have been some of those tough conversations, have been the tough, hard topics that come up that not everybody's going to agree with me on. I may say some things behind this microphone occasionally that are going to piss some people off. They're going to piss some brothers off. And I've done that before. I've said some things on here, and then a brother reach out to me later in the week or later that night. Hey, man, what's up with that? I didn't know you were going to say that. Does that really feel? And yeah. Wouldn't have said it if I didn't. Man, I didn't know. I don't agree with that. Well, we can agree to disagree. Let's talk. Let's talk about it. Why do you feel the way you feel? We don't want to talk anymore. All we want to do is shout and yell and scream at the other person about how wrong they are. We want to tell them how wrong they are. I hate that. I hate that that's where we've gotten to. Not just in Bearded Villains, but in society. Nobody listens anymore because they're so worried. They're so focused on getting their own opinion out. They're going to cut you off. They won't listen. It's too bad. It's too bad. So, as I said, other comments. I had a great comment that said, what do you want to see? I want to see the challenging conversations, somebody said. Perfect. It won't happen every week. But yes, and I will not shy away from them. And I don't really think that I have in the past. But yeah, somebody else said, what do you want to see? The raw and honest. Yes, that's what I continue to hopefully do. The raw and honest. That's what I want. And that's what I hope that I can continue to do for everybody. And another brother said a really nice thing. He said, your attention to detail and voicing your unbiased opinions. I appreciate that. I'm not going to run from my opinions, but there will be times where I don't think that it's my place to actually say it. Even though this is my show and my voice behind the microphone, there will be times where it just doesn't need to be said at the time. And I'm okay with that. I can bide my time and give my opinion on something later. So, yeah, I appreciate those of you who did reach out and have a little something to say about that and share your opinions on that. That's always great to hear. I love that. So, hey, before I go any further, I got to share. You know what? I did a little thing, and instead of doing this live recording or live speaky part every week, I decided to go ahead and just record the thing finally. And so let's hear a little word from Bigfoot Beard Company. What do you say? Whether you're navigating the rugged terrain of the great outdoors or conquering the concrete jungle of the urban landscape, Bigfoot Beard Company has you covered. Bigfoot products are made with natural ingredients designed to help maintain a healthy, rich beard without leaving it feeling greasy and heavy. From classic cologne-inspired fragrances to fruity notes and earthy tones, there's sure to be a scent for every occasion. With worldwide shipping available, why not take an opportunity to walk on the wild side? Head over to Bigfoot Beard Company today. That's www.bigfootbeardco.com. Again, that's www.bigfootbeardco.com. All right, Bigfoot Beard. Hey, man, I love their stuff. And Rob, no, I haven't forgotten about you, man. I haven't forgotten about you. I have to take care of that this weekend and set things equal with you. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. I don't think I mentioned this. Did I mention this? I don't think I mentioned this. Well, maybe I mentioned it a couple weeks ago after World Meet. Placed second in the beard competition, and you know what? That was wearing Bigfoot beard products. Yes, it was. That was wearing Bigfoot beard care. Bigfoot beard. I love their cologne scents right now, man. I'm jonesing on the cologne scents that they got. It's almost like I don't even need to put a little splash of my normal cologne or something on, or body spray, whatever I normally put on. Don't even have to do that, feel like. So awesome. Love it. So, hey, and look at that. We'll just continue with the program with the commercial part of the program here. Rob says 10% of the bombs on the website, 10% off this weekend on the bombs. Hey, there you go. Great to hear. That's awesome. So, you know, what else do I want to mention here? What else do I want to talk a little bit about? Well, you know, I look back and like I said, I mentioned earlier that I was looking back on the year. Well, I mean, on the 5 years really. And when I did that, I looked back and I realized, you know, this new picture that I put out today started to show out, and then it's the thumbnail for the image for this episode. And I put it out on YouTube and I put it out on Instagram and whatnot. The picture with the flags. Picture with the flags that are part of on the new V part of the logo. And I included all the countries that I have so far been able to speak to brothers from. And I look back on that and I'm just amazed, because it seemed at first when I was looking at it, I was like, man, it felt like I've actually talked to people from far more countries than that. And then I realized that, you know, we have multiple chapters in Australia that I've spoken with, that we have many chapters in England that I've spoken with, but that's one flag, you know, that I've spoken with, you know, so there's all sorts of different chapters that I've spoken with brothers from that have from different countries that have multiple chapters. So, but I stopped doing the math when I realized that it was well over 100 chapters. It's well over 100 chapters that I've spoken with representatives from in this last 5 years. And it's just been such an amazing ride talking to our brothers and learning about things. You know, we've had some just an amazing run talking to brothers about things, learning about charity efforts, learning about big things that have happened in brothers' lives. And you know, in the last 5 years, specifically just with this show, you know, we've met so many great, incredible men. And then we've lost a few legends, and we've lost some brothers that never easy to talk about, never easy to bring up because we hate to see it. But as I've said before, you know, it's a great reminder to ourselves to recognize that we need to focus on the moment when we're with our brothers, focus on the time that we do have together, make the most of it, make the memories. As Baby Glock, as Brian would say, you know, take pictures. Take pictures. And I think it's funny because that message, I think, goes two ways. Yes, you want to take pictures, physical pictures. That's great. We've all got phones and videos and action cameras and different things now. But take the time to even do those mental pictures where you can take the time to take all social media away and just sit there in somebody else's presence and enjoy their company and just talk to them. Some of the greatest events, some of the greatest meetups, some of the greatest conversations and things like that I've had with brothers were from situations where cell phones weren't even present in my hand. They were in a pocket. They were on a table. They were not in your hand paying attention to them. It was just brothers talking. Nobody reached for their phone, and it was just talk. Learning about, hearing about, talking. And those conversations, man, those memories last. They really do. They really do. And I have learned, and I have learned from, and I am absolutely a better person, a better man, a better father, everything, because of the men that I have met within this group, within this brotherhood. Absolutely. So I want to thank you, all of you who have been a part of my journey um, all the way through this thing. I want to thank you. Absolutely, Rob. Rob followed up a great message with a funny comment. Of course, in typical Rob fashion. Yeah. Says some of the best conversations I've had been at 2 a.m. after a meet, sat around doing nothing. Yes. 100%. I've talked about those meetups and those conversations in the parking lot when everybody's just chilling, sitting in lawn chairs at Beards for Bucko. And Rob says, or super long road trips. Yes. Oh, that was so much fun. There were times leading up to that, Rob, that I was like kind of dreading it. I was like, I'm not so sure Rob knows what he's in for. And I don't want to be the person that made his trip over here miserable because he was in the car with me all this time, and 2 really long road trips down and back to New Orleans from Northern Indiana. I love road trips, but I also didn't want to make his time over here miserable and something where he's like, oh, well, that first part of the thing was terrible. But to me, I had a great time. I had an awesome time in the car, just driving around, making fun of things, situations that we come across. And it was just the conversations, man, the conversations, just a great time. So again, cheers to everything, everyone, and all the stuff with my E.H. Taylor 2017. I say that now because I'm going to be switching over to another fancy bottle here in just a second, because I wanted to be able to have a bourbon in this episode, and I also wanted to have a scotch, right? You know me, I like whiskey, so I have to have both. So in perfect BP fashion here, as I said, I started off the night with the E.H. Taylor. Okay. And this is a special. I have the bottle actually even labeled as a 2017 bottle. Good bottle, great drink, awesome stuff. And you can see in the time frame I haven't had that much of it. I haven't had that. I don't get it out too often. But right now I'm switching over now for the last half of the show here, for the last part of the show, I'm going to switch over to the Glenlivet. And this is the 18-year single malt. The 18-year single malt, hard to find sometimes around here. More money than I wanted to spend when I would buy one on myself. So this is one that I got. I'm still sipping on from Beards for Bucko a few years ago, actually, that I won in a raffle because I'm too cheap to buy my own. That's the real truth to it. So we're going to switch over here now to the Glenlivet and the Scotch, the single malt Scotch. So cheers on that. Such a different context and flavor. Love it. Okay. All right, guys. So real quick, I just wanted to, we're talking about conversations and we're talking about topics. And I wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit. I don't want to go into specifics and I don't want to call people out, but I do want to say this. Looking forward, I've been doing this show now for 5 years, been a part of BV for 7. And yes, there was a time that BV existed before me, and I understand that. But it was only a few years. And it was basically in its infancy. And there was a couple of strong years there before I got in, and I get that. But I also don't feel that me not being there during those first couple of years that I was really missing out on anything. I don't feel like anybody can really tell me that you don't know what it was like back in the day. Because when people refer to that, they're still talking about basically the first few years that are the first pre-COVID years, basically, is what they usually get around to when they try to describe it. And I was around for a few of those. And so I look forward. And we all know, if you're a part of BV, we all know that there's a divisiveness that's happened in the last several months. And you can agree with the reasons behind that, or you can agree with part of the reasons behind that. You can have your own opinions on that. That's I can't convince you otherwise, and you can't convince me otherwise, and I get that. And there's brothers that have been a part of chapters that no longer exist officially, but they strongholds say they're still there and they're still in existence. And yes, they are still villains, even if they don't have an official chapter anymore. And that's completely understandable. They want their identity and they want to be what they are, and I understand that. And they're going to continue to move on and do their thing. And then there's the other chapters that are still around, that are still official BV chapters, that are going to continue to do their thing. But I just want to speak to for a second on this idea of respect, because I think it's extremely important for us as villains, regardless of what side you're on in that specific argument, regardless of where you come from, regardless of how many patches you have or don't have. Respect is a big deal. And yes, we can talk all day long about people need to have a thicker skin, and I get that. If you come from a certain generation, it's easier to say that than than a newer generation, and I get that too. But really what it comes down to is, are you being the best version of yourself? Are you representing yourself and other men in this club the best way you can in the way that you speak, in the way that you act? Are you acting are your actions simply with the intent to piss someone else off? And sometimes I feel like that's the case. And if it is, great. If that's your thing, fine. If that's your thing that you live to just piss other people off, or a specific person, piss them off, then do your thing, whatever. But don't come across like you're some version of Robin Hood. Don't come across that you're trying to save everybody else. Don't try to say that you're part of a big group of people that are trying to do good. If all you're trying to do is cause a fracture and cause problems, or create a problem that really doesn't need to be there, then just go about your business and do your thing. I think sometimes we have a hard time separating that issue. Sometimes we have a hard time separating the difference between having a thick skin and doing what's right. I think we have a hard time sometimes separating between the difference between should you or shouldn't you. And sometimes we even have it. And what's amazing to me is that grown men get into this argument of, well, there's nothing that says I can't. Well, but does that mean that you should? I mean, as an adult, I can't understand that logic. I can't understand the logic of doing something just to do it, to piss someone off. Maybe it's just because that's just not how I roll. I would rather not put the energy toward it. I would not rather put the energy toward whatever that thing is and focus all of my energy on trying to piss that person off or do that thing. I'd rather focus on trying to do something good, do something positive. But sometimes, and I've seen it within BV, I've seen it outside of BV, but I'm talking about here now. And sometimes I've seen it, and I hate to see it, where it's, you can raise the question of why would you do something like that? And people just say, well, why wouldn't I? I can do that. Well, but why? Do you think that that's the best thing? Is that the thing? Does that make sense to you? Well, obviously it does. But where's that logic? Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And we as men, as grown men trying to be an example, trying to be the best that we are, should recognize that. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I don't understand. I don't get that part of it. I get that we're not going to get along with every person in this club. I get that. You know what? There's a lot of truth to that in the fact that brothers fight. Even natural blood brothers fight all the time. Growing up, if you had brothers, if you had sisters, if you had siblings, you fought. And sometimes they were knockdown, drag-out fights. Sometimes people didn't come away unbloodied from it. But, man, just because you can doesn't mean you should. I wish that we would all feel that. We can disagree and dislike what somebody does or what they represent or how they act or what they do. And we can just leave it. We can ignore it. I don't have to focus all of my energy and effort to piss somebody off just because I can. Where did it go that we can just say, hey, fine, I don't care. That person can do their thing. Where's that trigger switch where you just be like, nope, I gotta do this. Why? Well, because I'm gonna show him. What? Now, I don't know what people's motives are. I don't understand. I'm not going to pretend to understand that all the time. But I will say this. I've seen it a lot in the last 6 months. And it bothers me because men, we should be better than that. I've been to events, I've been to big events where brothers that don't get along just don't talk to each other. They don't go around each other, and they can still both have a great time. They talk to the people they want to talk to. They do the things that they want to do the things with. And you'd really never know that there was any kind of animosity between two people. I have seen that happen, and it works. That's what responsibility is. That's what a responsible man does. But no, too often, anymore, recently, we have to be the person that wants to call somebody out, or we have to be the person to stand up and do something to make an example, or to I don't know what it is. I just don't get it. I don't understand that mentality where it's why we can't just let it just, if you don't want to be a part of that thing, then don't be a part of that thing. I mean, is it that hard? Now, I'm a member. I mean, I'm still in a few different chats that are not official BV chats right now. And so many times I hear, people making comments about a specific person. And I'll just say, that I read a lot in the last few months about people's impression of a lack of support or a lack of whatever it is from VK. Now, I'm going to quickly preface this with this. I am not somebody who's ever going to defend him because I don't think I need to. And I don't think he needs me to. So I'm not defending him or his actions in any way, shape, or form. But I will say this. When I hear people speaking untruths, I will argue that. When I hear people speaking and saying and making comments only to get reaction, a lot of times. When I hear people saying things just to see who else is going to jump on the bandwagon and be like, yeah, that mob mentality, then I feel like I need to try and, you know what? You can dislike somebody all you want, but that's not accurate, and that's not true. So don't, when you get your pitchforks out and when you're hooting and hollering and talking bad about VK and whether he did or didn't support things, just know this. He has supported chapters in a way that may not fit what you think. He has supported chapters in a way that may not be what you would like him to do. And that can be argued. Absolutely. You can absolutely argue that. I know there's a lot of people out there that argue whether the fact that why he doesn't go and doesn't attend events and different things like that. You can argue that all day long, but you can't say that he doesn't. You can't leave a blanket statement out there that says he doesn't support BV, because he does. I can say that without a doubt, 100%. He has supported our chapter long before we had somebody on our chapter that was a board member. He has sent and donated items to our events for charity purposes. He has sent and donated items to a dozen or 15, 20 other chapters that I know of that I've been to their events, and I know that he's donated items to them for their events. And the sad part about this is the thing that bothers me. We're now at this point, and I'm just going to talk about this for a second here because I don't want to sit here and write on this. I'm never an apologist for him. I have my own concerns and my own, and I haven't talked to him in a long time. So I'm not somebody who's kissing his ass. Don't think that for a second. And anybody knows me knows that that's the case. But when I want people to have facts. And when people are saying that he's not supporting chapters, that's just dead wrong. Because he has. He has supported chapters by donating hundreds and in cases over the years, thousands of dollars worth of merchandise that your chapters have used for raffle items. That is a donation for charity. That does help. It's helped us out, and it's helped many other chapters out that I've been to in the States for sure. And I've heard that it's happened from chapters outside of the U.S. as well. What bothers me is that now we're at this thing where people feel like they have to take sides. And now I've seen in chats where people will call it out and say, he never supports. But you know what? I know for a fact that 6 months ago, he supported your chapter. I know for a fact that 6 months ago or 3 months ago or 2 months ago, he donated items to your event. And you don't want to speak out. And you don't want to say, oh, well, he did for us. I don't mind saying it. I don't mind standing up for the fact that he did for us. And he's done for many other chapters. Now, like I said, you can argue all day long about the lack of physical support and whatever else. And I'm not saying he's perfect for sure. There's things going on that people have legit concerns and arguments about. But for that one thing, and it bothers me when there's people sitting quiet or jumping on the bandwagon in that mob mentality going, yeah, that's right, he doesn't support. But I know for a fact that he has supported your chapter, and you're too afraid to stand up and say it. I don't understand, because the problem is that you're too afraid to stand up and say it because you're afraid that the rest of the guys in the room are going to immediately call you an ass kisser. That's what it comes down to, and that bothers me. I know for a fact, 100%, that there are there are people, and I won't say who and what chapter, I will not say it, but I know for a fact that there are people who were outspoken against him, calling him out and saying things negative about him and his support the very day that he shipped stuff to help your chapter. He could have said, screw it. He could have said, screw it. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to support. Why would he go out of his way to donate money to a chapter when members of that chapter are openly speaking out against him and criticizing him? He would much rather maybe send that to somebody else, to some other chapter. And it's not because you have to go rah, rah, rah him. It just means that you don't have to speak out and be so negative about it. We talk so often in our chat rooms and in everything else that we do about men standing up for things and men being afraid or not afraid. I'm not afraid to speak my mind. We see that a lot. We talk about the real ones, right? We talk about men that are willing to speak their mind and speak the truth. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. If I go into those chat rooms and I say this stuff right now, I get silenced immediately. Cut down, because guys will say, you're just kissing his ass. And no, I'm not. It's not that. But you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. And you can't justify those words saying that he doesn't support just because he didn't support you. Maybe he didn't support you because all you ever do is criticize. I don't know. Now, I know we're at a point right now where a lot of people are saying things like, well, I don't want stuff anyway. I don't want, we're on our own. We're doing, that's fine. Great. Then do your own thing. Do your own thing. And if that's what you want to do, that's great. We'll still support you. I'll still support you. I'll still support the men that you are, the villains that you are. You're still villains. I'll still support that stuff. And I'll still support the desire that you have to want to do stuff. But that respect is a two-way street. And don't think that just because we're still here under the umbrella of bearded villains that we're that we're some group of kiss-ass people. The truth of it is this. I still wanted to be under this umbrella of BV because what? Because this is where I found the brothers. I found the brothers. We all of us joined this thing that was bearded villains before before chapters were around, and you talk about the old days and everything else, many, many chapters developed after people became villains. Right? You started somewhere. But everybody came under this realm of this thing that was bearded villains. And yes, it evolved. And it evolved because of you. It evolved because of all of you. All of the men that came and have been here, you put the effort in and you have made BV what it is. No one person has. And I've said that for a long time. No one person has made BV. What we are today, what this club is today, is because of the efforts of everybody that's been here. And that's why I wanted to still be a part of it. I can still stay solemn and say, my chapter is this. And I'm going to focus on my chapter, and that's great. But the whole reason that I've been here is because of the worldwide brotherhood that is BV. The worldwide brotherhood is not your chapter XYZ. Your chapter XYZ is part of. You were part of that umbrella. Now, whether you still are or not, that was a choice. That was a choice. And if that was your choice and you stand by it, I'll respect it. I will respect it. But don't come down on those of us that are still around under that umbrella of BV and disrespect our choice to do that, calling it something that it's not. Because it has nothing to do with the desire to be a kiss ass or anything else. It has to do with the desire to be a part of this worldwide brotherhood. And I know people will say, well, you can still be a part of it without the... I get that. I get that. But I choose to be a part of it. I choose to be a part of it. So as we move forward, I want to respect the past. But I also want to respect the future. I want to honor the past. I want to honor the brothers that came before us. Many of which are no longer here. They're not some of the most stalwart stand-up guys that people refer to all the time have decided to step away from BV because it just doesn't fit in their life anymore for whatever it is. That's fine. But we want to honor the past, yes, but we need to protect the future. We can honor the past while protecting the future. And if we let all this pettiness, all this crap that we have, this huge bag of crap that's just sitting there in front of us, if we let that run our lives, if we let that control what we're about, if we let that control our actions, even for a minute, then we're dooming ourselves. I hope that more and more of our brothers are willing to stand up and say, listen, I'm here, I'm a part of this, and it's not because I'm a kiss ass. You can think what you want, but I'm here for my brothers. And I know those that don't want to be a part of under the umbrella of BV will say, I'm still here for my brothers too, and I'm keeping it real. I get that. That's your opinion. But I'm not here for any one person. And I have no problem telling anybody that or telling him that. The person that so many are always critical about, I have no problem telling him that. I'm not here for him. And I don't think that he would expect me to be that. But I'm not here for him. I'm here for the brotherhood, this brotherhood. And I want to be here for the brothers that are willing and want to be here for me. It's a worldwide brotherhood. It's a worldwide brotherhood. It's not just you. And I don't need any of you, any one person. I don't need any one person trying to stand up on a pedestal saying that you're saving us. I'm tired of hearing the narrative that if these guys would know, if these guys would listen. I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing people stand up and say, we've been trying to tell people this is what. You're not telling me anything I didn't know. I'm not here blindly. And sure, there might be a few people that may not fully know. There's people that will, find out people's true colors as time goes on and different things, and that's great. But I don't need you to rescue me. I don't need you to be my Robin Hood, my White Knight. I don't need you to tell me what I don't know. I know why I'm here. I know why I want to be here. And I know it isn't perfect. It ain't perfect. But I also know that I want to be a part of fixing things and making it better. I don't want to be one of those people that just stands back and complains and bitches and moans that this is all the things that are wrong with it and isn't willing to try and fix it. And it doesn't mean that we're going to individually, that one or two people is going to individually fix things. And I get that. But I do know this. I can still be a part of this brotherhood and be a part of our chapter and do whatever I want to do to help out other people in the community and other brothers without any of the extra crap. We can honor the past while we protect the future. I wish we can do that. I hope we can. I hope we can, guys. Stop cutting down brothers for stupid things. It's not about having a thick skin. I can joke around and I can take ribbon all day long. But when you start to question people's character, when you start to question people's motives in a very real way, just because they don't align with yours, what are we doing? Let's do better. Let's do better. I can still respect, love, and honor you as a brother, even though you're not a part of a chapter anymore. And the reason I feel confident in saying that is because it's already happened. I am still close with brothers who are no longer part of BV that were. I'm still close with brothers who are no longer part of a chapter. It's possible. It happens. If we get above all the pettiness, but that's what we have to do. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. I'm pounding my table saying this. I'm tired of that excuse and that reason. Well, there's nothing that says I can't, but does it mean you should? We need to do better, and we need to do better quickly. If you don't want to be a part of this anymore, then God bless, go out, do your thing. Carry on with your life. And if you completely disagree with me, if you don't want if you don't want to be around me and have these conversations, that's great. Peace out, go live your life and move on. I don't need to focus my energy on people that don't want to be a part of the stuff that I want to be a part of. And I think you'd agree. You don't need to be doing that. But what's crazy is so many of our guys that right now we have a handful of people that all they want to do is stand up and shout at the rooftop and be super hypercritical and do nothing but just cause problems just because they're trying to cause problems. Just to prove a point, just because they can. Is that what men do? I don't know. I just don't get it. If you want to be here, be here. If you don't want to be here, then let the other 4,000 of us that want to be here be here. The group of brothers that are out there that are still brothers, that are super hypercritical, that really like to say on one hand that they don't really care if they're still here or not, but yet they're hypercritical about the possibility of the future. You know, if you want to be here, be here. If you want to be here, be here. If you don't, then I'll see you. I've met a lot of great men over the years, and I've said goodbye to a lot of great men that moved on. And if that's the way that things have to be, that's the way that things have to be. But why would you focus so much energy on doing the negative just to do it? All right. Well, I got a little bit out tonight, and I appreciate you letting me talk. I got some stuff off my chest, and it's just been a bother. It's been a thing, and I just want us to do better as men. I want us to do better as men and focus on the positive. Focus on what we can do better. Cutting people down, tearing people apart does nothing but do just that. And we need to be better than that. So I wish you guys the best. This has been an awesome episode 225. 5 years. 5 years. I want to just go quickly before I bolt away and look up. I know we've had a bunch of great comments coming in that I didn't get a chance to address as time goes on. But I do want to just seek out a couple of these comments that I want to look into here. Yeah, Dapper Danny even says this when you're talking about VK's donations. He just donated to the auction for Fox's family that we're doing tomorrow. He took it and was reaching. Was reaching out and asking. Yep. Yep. Rob, always with the good words. If you choose to say anything, then you have chosen the side of the aggressor through your passivity. You must speak out when it's the right thing to do, regardless of what others think. Yeah. I appreciate you guys. I just think I think we need to just right now it feels like there's a minority that's being very vocal, and I think it's time for the majority to be vocal. I think the majority has been silent, and the majority has just let things go. And I think sometimes it's been out of the fear of being seen as an ass kisser, and it's not that at all. It's not that at all. So Rob said, it's sad. Yet again, we are having this conversation, but as we are, you better believe I'll be raising the flag for all those who need supporting as a beacon of safety. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Rob coming in with the hard comments here. BV has a place for those in need of something they couldn't find. There's no way that feeling of safety and security should ever be infringed by anyone. Absolutely right. Yeah. So guys, thank you so much for taking some time out. Those of you who have been here with me live tonight. I can't say enough about that and give you enough appreciation for that. You've been huge supporters. Those of you who are here, those of you who have supported any time throughout the last 5 years. Thank you so much. And for those of you who have been here absolutely 100% from the beginning, I'm talking about those people that have been listening in podcast fashion. Only those podcasters, the ones that have been on the audio side of things since episode 1 when it was terrible. When it was terrible. And I thought that I had something good. I thought that it was a good show, those first 10 episodes or so. But man, I look back now. And so yes, thank you so much for all of you who have downloaded this show. It's not huge. I don't get thousands and thousands of downloads each week, and it's not about that. But if I just reach one person and just one person gets something out of it, it's worth it to me. And this helps me go. So again, thank you so much. I'm going to say cheers again to you this time again with that Glenlivet 18 year. Cheers again, guys. Let's be better. Let's do good for ourselves, for our brothers, and being in our community, guys. That's going to be it. That's going to be it. That's going to wrap up episode 225. Happy 5 years to everybody. We got a new theme song coming here. It's coming soon. Coming soon, an updated theme song, so we'll see how that goes. Thanks again to Jelly for working on that. Guys, I want to challenge you, as I do every week, to be the villain that the world needs you to be, because the heart of a villain never stops beating. Again, the most important words I continue to say every week, remember them well. It's okay not to be okay. If you are hurting, please find a brother to talk to. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. But that means you got to take the steps and the effort and find someone to talk to. Guys, it's going to wrap it up. I'll see you back here again next week for episode 226. Until then, have a great night, great weekend. Take care. Stay safe.
From the start to the finish, go hard and we win. And it's the heart of a villain. It's the heart of a villain. From the start to the finish, go hard.